It's my extreme pleasure, and welcome to our Meet Our Member series, to go ahead and introduce Steve Hooper, the President of Financial Services at Tiphaus. So, welcome.
Thanks, Rob. Pleasure to be with you, and excited to be one of the newer members of the IFBTA.
So, what are the other trends that you're seeing in general? I mean, I know you could talk to the trends in payments, and I get that, but what are the general trends that you're seeing? Because you are an integral part of the whole service method.
Yeah, so I think team-based service is a big deal now, right? That's been a big shift over the last several years, and I think the pandemic brought some of that on. And so, the increasing use of tip pooling and tip sharing and whatnot broadly across the country has been a big uptick. And honestly, this business wouldn't have existed if that hadn't shifted so meaningfully in the way that it has for most restaurant groups. I think employee satisfaction, in these roles tends to be a little low at a lot of restaurant groups. And what we're finding is, any way to create that transparency and opportunity to connect with your team and show them that you're doing the best on their behalf, that tends to be a really positive outcome. As I mentioned, the decreased turnover and all that kind of stuff. And then finally,
Well, people are concerned about turnover and employee. It's the number one thing that people want to talk about. I would point out I do not want to miss something that you said earlier, which had to do with evaluating a person's capability and their service and giving them additional training. In doing such, being able to identify that insight and being able to provide them helps them to make more money
yeah, no,
too.
everybody.
And I think, yeah,
Yeah.
you want to reduce the turnover.
Yeah, no, and so that's one of the things we're going to we'll start working on a little later this year is a true gamification inside of the platform and like training insights. Like you can tease them out from the data that we have, but what we want to provide is the best GMs do this naturally. The managers that are on site, boots on the ground, right? They just know who's strong, who needs help. They partner people up. They figure out how to like coach them up. And they increase the sales of that organization pretty quickly by like just being really good coaches. So what we want to do with the platform is help an average GM become a great one using insights through our platform about how to do that. And because we pull all the sales data, item level data, all the way down to the check level, we can actually see who's selling what and how how certain things are working. And we can run competitions. Like let's say you want to run a special for a specific drink. And that kind of thing. We can run competitions, not just across a single restaurant, but across a restaurant group or even across a region. So let's say you're a beverage brand that wants to like really get your liquor out there or something like that. We could do a regional competition across all Tiphaus locations and have somebody win a prize.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
To actually do it, even if it's anonymous between the different brands. However, this idea, so first of all, the actionable data that you're providing, are you using some tools to actually make it easy so that they don't have to go dig it or figure out what it is, but you're actually able to say to them, did you notice this, on demand, ad hoc as it's happening?
Yeah, that's the kind of what we'll start working on later this year is like really exactly what you just said. So that's kind of the next phase of kind of taking this data and information we have and making it actionable and usable and make recommendations based on that. Like here's what we think is something you should do, or here's some folks you should coach, and here's how you should coach them. That kind of information is what we're moving towards.
Well, I would tell you that the kind of data that you're collecting and the insights that you're providing actually give you the ability to provide the industry a service. Now, no way is every 100% as much as you might want it are people going to be Tiphaus customers. However, you can influence the industry by making the data and the measurement that the industry follows in this particular area, because it has not been an area that was focused on, and you guys are really one of the first and the leader, in this specific area. So your view of this is different, and I could see, Tiphaus actually coming up with, as you've already pointed out, not just your customer database, but you could give out data based on state.
Yep.
Data based on industry segment or type of restaurant,
Yep.
data based on number of employees,
Yep.
and front and the back, because in reality, the things that you're connected with also have some of that data that you would be able to provide insights into somebody's business, looking at it from another data point and data view that they don't get today.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And I think one of the things that I do. So obviously having the operator background, having built, use this inside my own, um,
Right.
I spend a lot of time with other operators, and I'll be like, hey, look, this is a part of your tip pool. Like the way you're doing this one thing is out of step with other groups. And we know that because we get to see all the rules that people set. We get to see how they compensate bussers or dishwashers or whatever using their tip pooling and tip sharing and that kind of stuff. So we can actually help them surface that. Now we're doing it on a one-off basis right now. Like this operator, that operator has a question, but I think you're right. The next wave of this is getting data out there so people can see here's what good looks like, or here's what how things are in different parts of the country. That's a good
Right.
angle for us for sure.
Well, a lot of people have been focused not only on the labor market, but they also focus on, robotics and things like that, where they believe the labor market is going to be replaced.
Hmm.
And I can give an example of this. I went to a conference earlier this year, and I tried out one of the driverless or the autonomous vehicles, right? And of course, one thing was taking the vehicle. The second was when I got out, I thought to myself, I didn't have to tip, right? In there, although there were probably other charges like technology charges and things. So at the end of the day, I probably was paying the same.
Yep.
Although what I figured out is every time somebody brings that up to me, the hospitality industry, the retail industry, it's an industry made out of people. And what makes us different is we're not going to replace anytime soon, and never is a really long time. Okay, I get that. But we're not going to replace the servers anytime soon. We may put robots in the front of the house to bring the food out or take away the dishes, to help maybe operate more efficiently. But in reality, in the economy we're going forward, everybody is part of the performance of the restaurant. We're not going to get rid of the people in the back of the house. And so you're finding a way to actually include everybody, and then give them options and flexibility in how they go ahead and they do performance-based pay throughout the operation.
Yep. Yep. No, that's it. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And we do see, there are fewer people in kitchens than there were a few years ago, particularly in the high wage states. There's fewer people in the front of house. Less often there's a host. Usually it's being run by the GM. So like there's shifting in how the restaurants are operating as these costs go up. But you're right. At the end of the day, it's a people-based industry, and it's only going to be as good as the people you have in there and your ability to incentivize them to, show up every day
Right.
and do right by the customer.
Well, I will tell you that even when people talk to me about fewer people in the back of the house, or they talk about smaller operations, actually, I look at it a little bit differently. That right today, we're actually increasing the number of operations we have. So we're going to go ahead and spread those staff out. If you do delivery in there, whether the delivery people belong to somebody else or you, there's still people involved in doing that delivery.
Yep.
There's still people involved even in a dark kitchen or a ghost kitchen that's in there, or a commissary.
Yep.
And so you may just be changing the way you do business with more outlets because you want to do more food. Even if you go to vending, while you may not tip a vending machine, you may, in essence, there's a service, and the more of those machines in Seattle, pizza vending machines in the Hyatt Hotel, that the more of those out there, there's the more of the food that has to be produced. There's more things that are going on. And we're going to see people providing tipping to the back of the house.
Yep. No, I think that's the trend for sure. People understand that it's the whole team that is providing the services.
Or to be a service charge, which in essence is a tip as well.
Yep.
So listen, I really want to, thank you, for sharing this, but also some leadership in a area of the industry that people don't understand sometimes, and they don't know, yet goes all the way back, to the beginning of the service industry, for sure. You've joined the IFBTA. You're our newest industry supporter. What made you join the IFBTA?
Yeah, no, it was honestly just the network that you guys have built, and the set of both vendors and suppliers and partners, and then operators that are in the ecosystem. We got started officially in 2018 as a company. Had a good run up until the pandemic hit. And full service restaurants weren't taking any money in, so we couldn't really ask them to pay us anything back then. But as everything came out of the pandemic, it was clear that this was a big area of opportunity, and it started growing pretty fast. And so as a result, we just felt the need to get our name out there. And your guys' team and platform has been a great help in
Well,
allowing
you
us to
fill a very important area. We're looking forward to seeing how you go across industries, but also across geographies. Are there any last tips you would like to give us?
I see what you did there. That was good, Rob.
I was working on that the whole
That
time.
was good. No, I'd say honestly, as one of my favorite sales guys on the team says, if you take tips, you have a tip management problem, and we would love to help.
All right, there you have it. So if you take tips, you have a tip management problem. And if you don't take tips, you're probably going to be taking tips. And the definition of a tip is probably going to change. And that's my tip for you.
There you go.
So I'd really like to thank, and it's been a great conversation with Steve Hooper, the President of Financial Services for Tiphaus, and welcome as a industry supporter of the IFBTA.
Thanks, Rob.